This is our never again, okay? This is a Holocaust. A Holocaust just happened. A real Holocaust just happened. We will never forget this. You need to tell your children what happened in Gaza. You need to tell them exactly who did it, exactly whose families were involved in this. It's statements like that, like just pretending like we're just making things better when we do an ethnic cleansing that was pre-planned. We're just better. We should get a peace prize.
Candace Owens just slammed Donald Trump's Gaza plan and exposed Israel's genocide in Gaza, calling it a Holocaust, and in this video explaining why the deal on the table right now isn't exactly designed to guarantee peace. She also gets into why the Israel firsters have completely lost this argument. Let's get right into it. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel.
I do want to get to speaking on the topic of Israel. There was a very good video that came out. Actually, let's first talk about the Israel and Hamas peace deal that they're trying to shove down our throats. Now, if you're reading the headlines, a peace agreement is what we're calling it, has been reached between Israel and Hamas. Oh my gosh, because they decided that there's going to be phases and Israel is going to partially withdraw its troops from Gaza and Hamas is going to release the remaining hostages. And this is, of course, after everything that happened on October 7th. Don't forget about October 7th. And yeah, like hundreds of thousands of Palestinians are missing. And yeah, they have destroyed 85% of Gaza. And they're going to try to tell us that we've reached peace. At the center of it was Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner. They arrived on Wednesday morning to represent the U.S. negotiators from Israel. And Hamas and the mediators from Qatar and Egypt and Turkey also participated. And we're supposed to go, wow, that's amazing. Trump put a statement out on Truth Social. He wrote, I'm very proud to announce that Israel and Hamas have both signed off on the first phase of our peace plan. This means that all the hostages will be released very soon, and Israel will withdraw their troops to an agreed upon line as the first steps towards a strong, durable, and everlasting peace that all parties will be treated fairly. I can't even finish it because it makes me sick that they think we're this dumb. 85% of Gaza has been destroyed in this pre-planned, controlled demolition of Gaza. Bibi Netanyahu is on camera explicitly before October 7th saying we need to hit them so hard that they can't come back. Jared.
Yeah, she is totally right about this. This ceasefire probably will not last, and the precedent is there that it won't last. Israel has violated over 1,000 ceasefires just pertaining to Gaza. If you don't believe me, look that up. You know, some of those figures come from Palestinian organizations, but also international organizations ultimately confirm that, or at least come within several hundred of that number. So she's right. In the first ceasefire that Trump arranged when he walked into the Oval Office, that was broken pretty quickly by Netanyahu, and it doesn't even seem like the hostages are the real goal for the Israelis that want the ethnic cleansing to continue there. And how do I know that? Because Netanyahu could have gotten all those hostages in the first ceasefire right as Trump walked into office. He didn't, and the reason is pretty clear. He wants those hostages on the table to serve as the pretext for whatever he wants to do in the Middle East, even outside of Gaza. So that's the truth. Candace is breaking it here, and I don't see this as a lasting peace. There is no peace. It doesn't give the Palestinians anything that they or the Arab countries have wanted since the Beirut summit of 2002, where there was a plan unfurled, a 10-point plan that would have guaranteed Palestinian statehood and normalized relations with Israel. Israel doesn't want that. They want regime change in the region. That's what they want.
Kushner is involved in, he will financially benefit from whatever they build in its place. Again, all of this began before October 7th, right? So we are supposed to believe that this isn't just, well, business as usual. We got done what we needed to get done, and now we can begin phase 2. But we're supposed to thank them. We're supposed to thank the monsters that did this. You guys have it in your heart to say thank you? Thank you to Jared Kushner and Donald Trump and Bibi Netanyahu, who are just business partners playing a role, convinced that we're all so stupid. I mean, let's roll the clip back from Jared Kushner when he sat down at Harvard, Assad operation, to speak about their aims. This is February 15th, 2024. Take a listen.
There are real fears on the part of Arabs, and I'm sure you talk to a lot of them, who think once Gazans leave Gaza, Netanyahu's never going to let them back in.
Maybe, but I'm not sure there's much left of Gaza at this point. So if you think about even the construct, like, Gaza was not really a historical precedent, right? It was the result of a war, right? You had tribes that were in different places, but then Gaza became a thing. Egypt, used to run it. And then, over time, you had different governments that came in different ways. So you have another war, usually when wars happen, borders are changed historically over time. And so my sense is I would say, how do we deal with the terror threat that is there so that it cannot be a threat to Israel or to Egypt, right? I think that both sides are spending a fortune on military. I think neither side really wants to have, a terrorist organization enclaved right between them. And
Well, he's right about 85% of Gaza being destroyed, but this is just absurd to, focus on the terrorist threat within Gaza. It sure seems like the IDF are the most maniacal terrorist organization in that region right now and in the occupied territories. And guess who's financing it? The U.S. and Donald Trump. And guess who would stand to benefit by real estate development there? You, Jared Kushner. And yeah, we're supposed to greet you as, some benefactor coming in to save the day after all this destruction. No, you're just talking about this because you stand to benefit financially. This doesn't do anything for peace. It just does something to line your pockets.
Gaza's waterfront property, it could be very valuable to, if people would focus on kind of building up livelihoods. You think about all the money that's gone into this tunnel network and into all the munitions. If that would have gone into education or innovation, what could have been done? And so I think that it's a little bit of an unfortunate situation there. But I think from Israel's perspective, I would do my best to move the people out and then clean it up. But I don't think that Israel has stated that they don't want the people to move back there afterwards.
Yeah, the tunnel network's the problem. Instead of developing that, you could have developed education. Well, guess what? The money we sent to Israel could have done a lot better work here in the United States, domestically, right? When your father-in-law is preaching the America First doctrine and slapping us all taxpayers in the face on this, just, villainry at its finest.
And Trump wants a Nobel Peace Prize, by the way, for the planned ethnic cleansing so that they could profit on the land and turn it into a beach town. So let me say this. This is our never again, okay? This is a Holocaust. A Holocaust just happened. A real Holocaust just happened. And we will never forget this. You need to tell your children what happened in Gaza. You need to tell them exactly who did it, exactly whose families were involved in this. And when you hear in the future somebody tell you, like, we're going to Gaza Beach for a vacation, you need to look at them like they are the absolute vermin of our society, because they are. They are. Their children will be cursed, okay? If you go and you play in the sand where you know that your forefathers planned to mass murder children, you will be cursed. Every person who steps foot on that, every family that is set to inherit what they did.
Well, I'm not big on curses, but what I will say is I totally agree with her. People talking in that way and, just talking about the development that could be possible there, the real estate development to bring riches, the Gaza Riviera Trump flirted with in front of Netanyahu and the press back a few months, Jared Kushner's interest there. And a lot of people have said, hey, this is just a conspiracy. That's not what they want. That's not the real ordeal. But actually, that's pointed to in the actual peace plan. If you read point 9, it starts off pretty glowing and pretty acceptable and amenable, at least to me. Gaza will be governed under the temporary transitional governance of a technocratic, apolitical Palestinian committee responsible for delivering day-to-day running of public services. Oh, great. So it's going to be Palestinians? This is awesome. They're going to get some agency and sovereignty. Nope. This committee will be will have oversight and supervision from a new international transitional body, of course, headed by Donald Trump and Tony Blair, who also wants economic redevelopment there. He wants to benefit and profit from the slaughter, from the murder of Netanyahu and the financing for that from the United States. And Jared Kushner is undoubtedly part of that. He wants real estate development there. So this isn't designed to do peace. It's designed to line the pockets of well-connected politicians and well-connected figures in the Trump family. So Candace is exactly right. This isn't a conspiracy. It's actually talked about in the exact plan that she's talking about.
They will be cursed. Your children's children will be cursed. Gaza belongs to nobody but the Palestinians. So when you begin to move the Israelis in there, and when the Trump Hotel gets built on there, I caution the rest of the world to stay far away from that cursed land, because something is coming. You can't commit that much evil in broad daylight and not think it's going to come back to haunt you. Anyways.
Yeah, got to agree with her there. And this plan doesn't do anything to secure peace. It's basically, a loose ceasefire, if that. And trust me, I'm very thankful at any abatement of hostilities, any curtailment of human suffering and devastation and death. But I don't have high hopes for this plan. And maybe I'm just a cynic, but look at point 20, for instance. The United States will establish a dialogue between Israel and Palestinians to agree on a political horizon for peaceful and prosperous coexistence. What kind of metric is that? A dialogue and a political horizon, abstract, nebulous, constructs that have no bearing in terms of providing a Palestinian state or giving agency to the Palestinians for the first time. The only thing that seems to me to really do something to avert the hostilities, something that the Arab nations have been calling for since 2002, but Israel and the United States will never accept. Netanyahu boasted about that fact recently in the UN, but that's what we're getting. This isn't a peace deal. It's an economic redevelopment, neo-colonialism deal. That's just what it is.
God bless. May he get his Nobel Peace Prize. Sticking with that point, obviously, I was looking to see what people thought about the text messages, and it was really funny. I came across a clip of Matt Walsh, who I adore. It's very funny. And he was saying about the Charlie Kirk messages, he actually thought they were fake because he said he couldn't believe the sentence that felt too on the nose. He's like, I genuinely thought that there's no way Charlie would ever leave the pro-Israel lobby. First and foremost, his support for Israel. He loved it so much. So it's like, you must have done a lot to make him actually write that statement, which felt too on the nose to Matt Walsh in that text message. I have no choice but to lead the pro-Israel cause. And anyways, he gave some very sage advice, which is not going to be heeded by the Josh Hammers of the world, about what that really means, that your behavior pushed even Charlie Kirk away. Take a listen to what Matt Walsh had to say.
And at some point, if you're on the pro-Israel side, you really need to be honest with yourself and engage in some actual honest self-reflection and self-analysis. You really do. Because you're losing the argument. I mean, you're just losing it. You are. And I've never seen any side of any argument lose this much support this quickly. I can't think of any other example of something like this. And if you're on that side, you need to have the courage and humility to ask yourself what you're doing wrong.
Yeah, I mean, listen to Matt Walsh. A lot of us would like him to go even further, say that this is a genocide, that the U.S. should withdraw all aid to Israel. I actually think he has said something like that in the past, so I don't want to, put blame on him. But, this goes deeper than just the current administration, just the current Israeli regime. And some of us would like him to go even further. But I want to just commend him for doing this. This is very based. He's employed by the Daily Wire, working with Ben Shapiro's network. This is not what Zionists want Matt Walsh to say. Certainly not Ben Shapiro. But he's undoubtedly true about that. They have lost this argument. They clearly have. So much so that the Israel defenders, including Coleman Hughes in the recent debate with Dave Smith, weren't even willing to defend Netanyahu or defend, the onslaught in Gaza. In two places in that debate, he said, I'm not going to defend Netanyahu. Not at all. And he moved on from that. He didn't say why, of course, because that would have looked too bad to the current Israeli administration. And he also said, I think there does need to be immediate withdrawal from Gaza. That's Coleman Hughes, the diehard Zionist. They have lost this debate such that even their top guys are unwilling to continue to defend some of this stuff. That's a lot different than it was right after October 7th.
It's never too late to say Kanye was right. Never too late. And I'd like to say that Kanye was right. It's behavior. It's how they treat people. It's statements like that, like just pretending like we're just making things better when we do an ethnic cleansing. That was pre-planned. We're just better. We should get a peace prize. It's is coming to an end. You can feel it, like I said, unless they've got a plan, and maybe they do, to kill 7 billion people. Our memory will not allow them to just move along from what happened here, a true evil.
I totally agree with her on that, and that stands regardless as a fact in my mind, regardless of whether this plan, this Gaza plan, which again isn't a peace plan, it's an economic redevelopment plan for the benefit of Trump and his family. But regardless of what happens, Candace is right here. This will not be forgotten. This will age particularly poor for the people that stood by Israel through all of this. In Gaza, what they're doing as they attack 7 neighbors and draw the U.S. into a new war in Iran, by the way, this won't stand. This will spoil like rotten milk. It won't age well for the people that supported this, were complicit with it, and knew the information but continued to double down on it, regardless of how horrifying the things coming out of Gaza were in various stages. We're up to capacity with frustration on this from the dissident non-interventionist side on this. It's over 100,000 people dead, and it's probably more than that because a lot of those figures don't include people that are missing or, could be presumed dead. And even under Israeli intelligence, this story broke several weeks ago, Glenn Greenwald and some others covered it, that according to a leaked Israeli database, this is Israel's information, 83% of the people killed in Gaza weren't Hamas and weren't Islamic Jihad. That was done by comparing a list of names that they had associated with those organizations compared to those who were killed. 83% were civilians. They were not Hamas or Islamic Jihad. They just use that as an excuse to kill Palestinians, that they're using them as human shields, that that's just collateral damage and we have no choice. That would not fly any other place. It wouldn't fly in the United States. If criminals take hostages into a hospital and you drop a bomb on the entire facility instead of, taking steps to just deal with the criminal rather than just bombing everyone, it wouldn't fly. That's premeditated murder. So that's what we have here. Candace is exactly right. I'm so glad for her courage to talk about this from the right. Just like Tucker Carlson, Candace goes way farther than Tucker Carlson, and I really admire her for that. Marjorie Taylor Greene and Thomas Massie are pretty heroic on this in Congress as well. But the Israel lobby has its talons sunk so deeply into our political system, into Trump, etc., that they don't really have an incentive to create a peace deal because the Israeli regime, the right-wing Likudniks, don't want a peace deal. They've been very clear about that fact, that they don't want a Palestinian state. And I'm not big on states in general. I'm a very radical libertarian, but I prefer that kind of political option rather than military occupation and devastation and death and murder sprees in Gaza. And that's what we've gotten since. But, heroic statement by Candace Owens. I think she's right on the money here. This won't age well. This will age so poorly. Way worse than even getting the COVID stuff wrong. Way worse than getting the Ukraine stuff wrong, because this is a genocide that the U.S. is complicit in. It's not something you want on your record. It's not what you want to be remembered by, that's for sure. But ultimately, a lot of people will be remembered for that. Don't be one of them, I say. So I agree with Candace. But let me know what you think down below. Is Candace Owens right about that? Will these takes just age so horribly? And is this plan going to produce any kind of lasting peace, or is it just designed to line the pockets of Trump, his family, and his cronies? Let me know in the comments down below. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, also subscribe to Candace Owens. Awesome segment. I'm so glad she covered this issue because we've been covering it a lot on the channel. And if you like this video, please consider becoming a YouTube member. If you enjoyed my content, you can support my channel by clicking the join button below. That would mean the world to me. And if you do that, I will give you the gift of having access to all of my videos before they go live to the general public on YouTube. And until I see you guys next time, no more war, no more debt, no more inflation, and no more empire. Peace out, guys. Catch you in the next one.